things that we don't understand, so we ask for his uh, prayers so we could be clear. And Chanupa song is to offer a gift of tobacco to the spirit in his honor, and to also be here while the meeting is going on. So it is a very, very sacred time. And then we're going to be recognizing our identity as Lakota people, Otetishakoin, Chithatwa, Chitan, however we understand the name. And I don't know what the name of the Wapa is, but we call it a staff song. So Eagle Feather Staff song, Lance, I guess, Waukaza. So that's what the songs are about. They're very meaningful, they're very special, as well as sacred, and it keeps us in harmony and balance with our environment, and to respect one another and hear each other's words in a good way, in a good manner. We are here as a nation and a bigger nation, trying to come up with results for our problems. And we are the only ones who can solve our problems. And so we ask the assistance of through songs, prayers, and recognition of who we are. So I'd like to thank you, each and every one of you who are here, who participate here. Your knowledge and wisdom is understood. So if they're ready, we'll do the staff song. Until then, I'll stop and pause here for a little bit. Okay, go ahead. Staff song. After the staff song, we're going to have the keeper of the staff say a few words. Okay, you may sit down. Thank you. Each of these songs are sung 4 times, and there's a purpose for that. So there's 4 songs and four times through. It totals to 16, and the Lakota people have, in their traditional government, they have 28 laws that fall under different areas, and we all understood those. We don't have to write them, we just understand them and live by them, and they're not necessarily a protocol, but we just understand them in the way our grandfathers taught us. Introduce our former chairman of the Oglala Sioux tribe, and he's my brother-in-law, Harold left here, and he's going to talk about the staff.
Pila mayo le wapche chikela wechi lotapikte for the next 2 hours. Happy chinkacha.
Literally right.
It's absente techema quote. Akil nanjipi charge truma kelo matroaka. Hunkama yanan lila takota wakaya kel wakan wechunki uspema kelo 1975 na trokatakia. Chunkele I makula tunkashlat khanka wekaluza etama hielo. Hechelwa yuna trapejuta ki yuha imakia chunke hogna wocheke uspimiche na hechel ilagmichelo. Homiate etaha hechelwa yu ate inawa ki 4 generations machpia luta ematahan ko. Cha uitcha cha ochunku makiapi ki heu hetaha oyate nawichak chiji washi chamu wocheke na uitcha chanki Hogna ho he un leon petu leche takuwe ichamuki tohan oyate omniche wichayu happy hanta stiosh pa hena echa ikpazo nojipikte unkle ampetu ithoka bi onji woglake na hanshi Albert, you should have more staffs here, you should have the headdresses here of your tiosh payas cha leche ilag michelo Cha he unle wa hokis iwag laking te chik ela na wapcha he après mayo wa shichu wag laking te lo atayu yukhlekhleche is wa shichu wag laking te cha wopilai chichelo. Excuse me for all my AI serologia. I don't intend to obfuscate a very deleterious gathering here. I think Robert understands what that means. I don't. You piakel washichu spema capelo. No, I'll explain in 1975, I first sundanced at Fool's Crow Sundance. In 76, I Humblechiat. Went out to my hunkad at the Dawson Hasenhorse, and I started learning from him. And he taught me as his hunkasan how to pray, how to conduct myself, how to represent myself in a Lakota way with honor and dignity and respect and all the virtues that we have. 1970, so I Sundance 4 years and 6 years after that, but in 79, Fool's Crow called me out in the middle and he talked in front of everybody. I was talking to my Misu Steve Dubray here, he's one of the witnesses that was there. And he called me up in the front and he told me, he said, I know who your bloodline is. I know who your great grandpa is. A man called Lieutenant Makula. He had great medicine. And Red Cloud always called for him to help him. So we helped him and prayed with him and looked out for him during the treaty era, the treaty negotiations from 1865 to 68. So there was a lot of spiritual blessings that forward during that time. So in 79, when he took me out in the middle of the Sundance, he explained the staff and what it means and what it represents. He said, this boy here, he comes from a chief called Yellow Bear around Allen Kyle area. And all his relatives are Fireplace, Prairie Chicken, Imitates Dog, Thunderbolt, Black Bear, White Lance, a lot of Tioshpaya relatives that I come from, Fire Thunder, all of them around there. So he said, we need somebody to represent the Tioshpaya for many purposes, not just spiritual. So I'm going to ask you to take care of this and look out for your people and never forget your Lakota way and who you represent, where you come from. So I started doing that. Before that, there were a lot of people. This staff was created in the late 50s, early 60s, when they started holding Sundances in Pine Ridge. And that's a whole different story. So that staff is really old. There's a lot of people, a lot of the boys, a lot of the guys that humblecha with it, that drug skulls, that prayed with it. And very, very seldom do I ever bring this staff out because it represents so significant a spiritual history that I don't play with it. I don't misrepresent it. I do not dishonor it. But at times like this, I have to. It's a responsibility we have to do. So in 1990, they identified 7 of us, and then they brought it down to me in their research, all these elders over in Pine Ridge, Red Claw Oliver, Uncle Oliver, and Royal Bull Bear, and Uncle Isaac Whiteface, Uncle Steve Brings Plenty, Mr. Whitehawk, Eugene Whitehawk, all these old men, Johnson Holy Rock, and they designated me for this Wapcha ceremony. And when they called me in, for almost 2 years, they'd done research. And when they called me in, they said, we're going to do this because we're losing a lot of our old ways. So they put this Wapcha on me, Oliver and Royal, in 1990. But I have all my relatives in Allen that signed up, that showed up. I have a list of all their names that came. Uncle Bill was there, Horn Cloud. He made my chanupa for me. So when they put that Wapcha on me, they explained to me the responsibility. The staff and the Wapcha go together for a Tioshpaya. So out of respect and to honor the gathering, from what was talked about yesterday, I offered and I carrying my responsibility this way. So the staff and the headdress represent that. In 1997 or 98 thereabouts, I was called a Oglala. Gerald One Feather and Richard Broken Nose and Nason Backs and all those old men in Oglala, they put a sash on me and made me a society member of the oldest society in Oglala, all those old men. So I'm one of their society members too, in that regard. But I never professed to be everything. I'm not a chief. I'm not a Wakawi Chasha. I'm not a whipman. I'm not a Eapaha. I'm not everything. You can only represent one. Those that talk about everything they are misrepresenting the calling of what our traditional ways are about. And it's all based on spirituality. So after I thought about it last night, and I thought, well, this is a treaty gathering. If it's a treaty gathering, we should represent our Tioshpaya. Tioshpaya is traditional government. In 1990, I was telling the Canadian relatives when that started in Stenning Buffalo to research or restore traditional government. That's Tioshpaya government. And so I come here and Thank you for the brief time to explain what these represent and who I am and the people that I come from, that I have the right to do this. And I honor it in the best way I can, and also to honor the gathering here, Cha. Lena Cha Omniche, Lechel Ki Chanwi Chaya Piki, Itrunchi Prapina, Chigloni Hampelo. Taya Ichanupina Oyate, Wichia Kichopina, Omniche Le Trokata Ke Oyate O Aye, Dokeshke Ki, Kichayam Pikteki Ho, Otechi Ke Hechalo. Oyate Tawokuzek, Iniki Api Chunke, Hena Echa Yuhamanik Delo. Na Trokata Kia, Heta Ki Hena. Hechina ile ni najelo, hekik suyapo na ektu japsnio, hechina preta ile najelo. Cha otaku yepi na otaku yepi, hokata kia, wichoin chakon kila zata hupiki, makan sio he akan elkig na kapiktelo. Ho hechel lechia wa alia chimpia galagalat hominiche egana kapiki, holena echa waya chanu pikteki, ho trokata kia wichoin chache, takoja kiksuya po, ho hechel oyate lakota on uyekile, lakota dakota nakota oyate hechena ni najik telo. Chayamitaku yepi, lechel wap hewechi lota biki, wopila chichi apelo, na chigloni hapelo, na yukpi, Yokpia wachion kapelo, Otra wopila chichielo, Hokahe.
He's right. He said he's got one right, and that's his right arm. And that's the shortest speech he ever made. So he has a record. Non-political speech. Okay, I'd like to have a motion to have the agenda approved. Okay, first to speak is from the Sichanghu Oyate, Sichanghu Nation, Rosebud, South Dakota. Claud Two Elk is here to address the public, the relatives from the other nations, the other people, the other groups. Our top coordinators are not here right at this moment. They're having a meeting behind closed curtain over there. So bear with the job center and anybody else who's helping set up this great man who's going to talk about issues from the Rosebud Oyate. Good man also.
Apalam apalo. Atona ya ipi ke ha. Chonwash de na pe o chis apalo. Batuluta ma tongash long kopi ka. Tekste hano Gesapa Nawash no one block. Which hoch was taken a honey. Until Dakia, Hochetish Hakoika had to. I have been a watching a car. I care a lampatu at Howington. I'm thankful to be here today. Shake all of you with the good heart, your hand. I thank all the life givers, the women. I thank them for their presence. I thank the relatives I'm sitting on the table with some long talkers, actually Harold and Ivan. They're pretty well known. They're talking a long time, so I think I qualify a little bit because when I talking back home, they all said, "Don't give the microphone to Claude." We sitting here all day. So anyway, I'm very thankful. There's a lot of things I want to share and talk about for the existence of being on the Treaty Council. And the most important thing that I would like to share is my belief in the Chanupa and where I come from. My mother is Nettie Buffalo Hornships. I come from that Jewish by Moose Camp and Hornships. Ceremony. I grew up like that in our first 9 years. My mother comes from, her father is Silas, carries the fire, and he has 4 brothers, and they all come from Hohoju, Winikoju. And my mother's brother is John Fire, his also bonnet wearer and a medicine man, carrying the name of Taksha Hushte, Lamber. And from a great grandfather from the Hohoju is a Taksha Hushte, come from that lineage. So I sit here as there's a small opening that a lot of us have miraculously made it here today. And to see all of you that are here today, it makes my heart feel good that you can represent your family, your Teoshmaya. And so that's one thing I hold up high and honor and respect to who I am. And let's see, where am I? Okay. I wanted to talk about the energies of life. There, in the creation story, they talk about the good and the bad. And our creator is called Eon. And the opposite of the Eon, the two energies that we're aware of is good and bad. And the other negative energy is called Onk. And the creation stories in the beginning. So a lot of us grew up into experiencing and seeing negative and positive energy in our homes and where we come from. And along the road, along the time, our Lakota people found balance and harmony. And that balance and harmony was referred to as Chankuluta. Chankuluta ma'akomani. The teachings of long ago was you need to be in balance and harmony with yourself and be respectful of the good and the bad. And they took care of that. So those who didn't want to listen, they put them in another camp called the Bad Nation. And a lot of our Ocheti Shakoins, when we were put in our prisoner of war camps, we brought our Ocheti, in our Ochetis, we brought also the Oyate Shita, because we are not a hateful people. There are still our relatives. We can't be thrown in their face, say, you're bad, you're this way, you're that way. But when we got colonized, we start calling each other bad names. And never in my years of growing up did my grandpa, my grandma's community I come from, they never called you a bad name when you come to their house. They always welcomed you, gave you a glass of water if they didn't have food, or a cup of coffee. Or the food is sacred to our people. This food that we eat, share with each other, comes from Mother Earth. And the awareness of how we share that with each other when we come to visit was really a valuable way of prayer to honor your relatives that come in through your doorway. And that carried on to I was just sitting there listening to Antoine. She was talking about protocols. You know, there's a lot of protocols with our chanupa. We have to go back to that to make our chanupa stronger. There's a lot of them that don't deserve to hold that chanupa, are fooling our people. We have, when Ia made earth, he downsized himself to Wakina Oyate. Every spring bringing new life, new energy to Mother Earth. So Unk downsized himself and called him, he was referred to as Iktomi. Iktomi. As I was growing up, I see that. I see a lot of our relatives use that energy. The other two things I became aware of is the good energy and the bad energy, how it exists today. Every time the good energy goes up, bad energy has to match it. And whatever we do, I worked with 13 communities in finding sobriety. We call this energy called Journey to Healing, and helping our Jewish boys get healthy again. One liquor store created a lot of breaking up of our Jewish boys. We, and a group of us, tried to work together to heal our people. It's sad because the once healthy Jewish boys aren't healthy anymore. They have a lot of jealousy and anger towards each other, fight amongst each other. They spill blood, in a bad way. We spill blood in a good way through Sundance. And women have their monthly. But they do those things in a sacred way for our people to live. Eche wakanja no, dona hena awo awanka, hena waga wakaka hena loviap ya wakwala mani. You know, we treat ourselves and be gentle with each other, because you could say something and really hurt somebody. And then today they watch Hinko. We went to a relative's home for Manicha, and around the Pejuta Haka Oyate. We got there, it was raining for 2 days. We got there and there was a huge mud puddle in front of the house. And they had these tires, and they put the wood planks across them to walk across this big mud puddle. So when we got there was both of women and men. We got there and we was walking across. There was a young boy that was sitting out in that mud puddle. As we got close to the house, like she come on, kicked out the door. He told us, he said, "Don't pay attention. Hey, what chinko." Timahiupo, that young boy is pouting. We're trying to get him out there. But that pouting is a negative energy that a lot of us have seen, and a lot of us do that today. We pout, get mad at each other, and we need to quit doing that. When we left that house 2 hours later, it was still raining, and that young boy was still sitting outside in that mud puddle. And that's the way some of us are. We're like that. We're so stubborn. We don't want to check our who we are. Who are you? Help heal yourself. I always talk about the seventh direction. It's the most important direction to understand the other six. When that seventh direction, to let go of those tears and cry. Cry from the things that you said or done, or the way your family is, Tiwishbai is. Cry. And we'll check it. We'll check it. We're going to go on the hill. We're going to cry. Honey, we'll check it. A lot of our men sang their prayer songs, and they were respected because I always call it a sacred vibration. That Tukashala and the living energy hears that sacred vibration. Early in the morning when it was Hamblechan, first thing that wakes up in the physical world is the birds. They wake up and they start waking each other up. You know, they make different vibrations, but they all internally can talk to each other. We used to be able to do that. We used to be able to talk to the birds, all the winged nations, the rocks, the water, the wind, and now Titakia. They're our relatives. Iyanka hena Ijan Wugalakap. Maniki hena Ijan Wugalakap. Where did that go? Where did we lose that teaching? These are things that, as far as decolonizing of who we are, we need to go back to that because it's in every one of us. It's inside of us. We need to bring that out again. We need to let that, the negative way, Ayush Temple, let it go because it's not helping our people. We need to start looking at that because we get a large amount of money today from settling some of our differences with the United States government. A lot of us are going to die from the addictions that we live in. We won't be able to spend the amount of money that we get. We see it daily. We see a lot of relatives that the buyback program, the land that they sold. I heard one of my relatives was passing $100 bills out at the doorway at a casino. So many stories that we don't know how to spend our money, but we have a good heart. We have a good heart. And then we'll all have respect for that. Which humbly we are Wamha Chanupa Moyankelo. Respect this Chanupa. Respect this Mahukiza staff. Wambly we are Kakalana. And then we're all Hulapo. So in our Sitangu Treaty Council, these are things I've become aware of as a chairman. I want good men to help us. I want good women to help us. You watch strengthen us, bring back that good pejuta that we once used to hold, and help each other. Wakaja kalana chaya o manipelo, no nuni manipelo. A lot of our children are crying because they don't have that grounding of love from their families. They're running away from the monster that lives in their home. That teepee was sacred and holy. Every part of that teepee, Tunkashila, connection to the directions, connection to Mother Earth, had a teaching how we set that teepee up. Even before we set camp, we had Owaka Nosto dancers came out there and they blessed that place where we're going to put that teepee up. Our teepees. Where did that sacred energy go? It was so sacred that the women, when it was their time in the month, they would take themselves out because they had a respect for that teepee. What was inside that teepee was sacred. The boarding school, the assimilation process that came, taught our people the wrong way to treat our children, abuse them physically, mentally, sexually, abandoning. These are really sad things that a lot of our people are practicing today. I remember Grandma going to a wake. She walked in, she said, "I'm not going to cry for Takoja over here. I've been trying to tell him, don't do this, don't do that." And I cried to make him stay. I'm not going to cry for him. I hope he's happy what he was looking for. So these are things that we need to be aware of. If you know what you said or done to someone, then be humble. There was ways they done it in honey. In order to get the respect of the Oyate, you had to do ceremony to get back into the circle. You did something bad, you need to humble yourself. Honey, they drug one skull, I heard, outside us on that circle. And the children threw things and did things to them to try to get them get mad. So they could say, see, he didn't change. He's still the same way. So that was a way of showing humility, how to be humble. And when he broke, they would take him in front of the people and they say, "Oh, you think he would accept him back into the Ochoka?" And if they say no, then they put the pegs back in. Okay, yes, they dragged this one skull day and night, even crying to ask for forgiveness. Forgiveness. Where did that go? Today, a lot of us come out of wherever doing bad things, and right away we run to a chanupa. I've been through that. I've seen it. I've been burned out of many sweats from people who don't know how to run sweats. Well, we go there to pray. We go there to cry. Us men, we chasha kehana, we hoka kehe. The sweat lodge was made for men to cry. Outside the sweat, we have to stand strong as a man. We chashake, washag, we're protectors of the people, protectors of the waka, the sacred energy. These are ceremonies that belong to us. These are ceremonies that came from the universe, from the stars. Universal laws that were taught to us, that our people, many generations, fought and died and took care of our sacred energy. I remember Grandpa saying, "Honey, wolak take hena washte. Tukte iwa. Where did that sacred teaching go? Leam tati hechicha unipi. We are living a very fragmented lifestyle that's not making our grandfathers and grandmothers happy for how we're living. So many things I hear on the radio. Grandpas and grandmas having a hard time in their homes. On weekends and paydays and whatever, they cry. They should be treated like a library of wealth of sacred energy. The boarding schools created a lot of hatred and anger and a way of life that today we accept it. It's been going on so long, we accept it. Oh, that's okay. Hakoja was raped by his uncle, her uncle. Oh, that's okay. A lot of things are going on like that that are not healthy, that are being accepted. A young girl is trying to commit suicide, cutting herself, trying to tell her mom and dad and relatives that what she was going through was not healthy and she wanted help. No one spoke to that girl. No one spoke to her first cousin that did that bad thing to her. Nobody spoke to him. We need to start to talk to our young people. We need to have them understand that our Ocheti Shakoi came from a very proud and healthy people. They walked with it. In the morning, evening, they prayed. There's a purple sliver at sunrise. Get up and pray. There's a purple sliver at sunset. Pray. We always connected. Every day we connected to the Creator and our helper. the teachings, the protocols of young boys going through their rite of passage, girls going through their protocols of their rite of passage, Ishnatipi. Those grandpas and grandmas who used to teach that, where are they? The boarding school warped a lot of our minds. I always feel that today our schools, kindergarten through 12th grade and on up, we need to bring grandpa and grandma in. Not physically, but spiritually too, because those good grandpas and grandmas, that spirit needs to be brought into the schools. We need to incorporate the rites of passage to the schools so that they can grow up to be good men, good women. I've always been saying that. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. Wakaya, Antu Tiwahe, Wichasha Wiankalana, Wana Onunita Omanib. Come out of that lost world and start finding you. Who are you? We come from a proud nation. Pride and honor needs to come back to our people. Yesterday, I heard Aritacha from Oglala Oyate share with what he's doing, and it really made me feel good. All of our chair people need to follow his path. So, that good energy and bad energy, it's always here and it'll always be with us long as there's life here on Mother Earth. Unk. Which road are you following, the Unk energy or the Ina energy? Ina is a stone. We talked about our stones. A lot of us have stone helpers. One came into my life when I was 17 years old. And it happened out there. When I used to be a fancy dancer, I used to go all over and dance. I used to have fun. It was a good sport. Everybody had fun. Everybody, if you overstep, understep, you walked off. All that was fun. When money started getting involved and money started getting higher and higher, then all the bad things started coming in. So much I just gave it up. But it happened in Montana. Somebody used medicine on me. I didn't know it was medicine. I came home. I had to ask my mom. She said, let's go to Uncle, who was a medicine man. When we got there, we asked his wife, and she pointed down to below the hill. I went down there, and she had a fire going. He was leaning on a pitchfork. He said, I've been waiting for you. Wow. So we went in. And I told him what happened. He said, come back. Come back when you find this little rock. It's going to come to you where there's going to be no rocks. It's going to come to you. He's going to come looking for you. Well, at that time, they were putting a new hardware store up. And they put new concrete in the front. There's no gravel rocks, nothing. I stopped to buy something from there, and I got out of the car, and this little round rock was there. I seen it, so I picked it up and I put it in my pocket. I went inside and bought what I need to buy, and I went home. I was hanging up our car keys on. We usually have a keys rack where we put our car keys. And I felt that little round rock, and I looked at it. I showed it to my mom. I said, like she told me that if this rock comes into my life, he said to go back to him. She was already up. She said, well, you and one on, that's your youngster. We're going to go see Lexi, uncle. The same thing happened when we got there. Got off the car, and I asked Auntie where he was, and she pointed down the hill. Same thing, he was standing there leaning on a pitchfork. He said, I've been waiting for you. Okay, we went in. I gave him that little rock. He said, come back tomorrow. I have it ready for you. But this little rock is not going to help you win dance contests. It's going to help protect you. Wherever you go, whatever you do, it's going to bring you home safely. And he said, this rock has 3 helpers. He gave me their names. And ever since then, that rock has still with me. I go on the hill and I pray with it. I dance, I sundance. I've been sundancing 37 years now. I sundance with my rock. I take care of it. I don't show it off. I don't say, I'm this way, I'm that way. Well, I always see myself as a common man. These are things that are waka, sacred things. I went to my uncle to a big gathering they had during the times that the American Indian movement, and a lot of our people were protesting what happened to Yellow Thunder and Gordon, Nebraska. I went with him. I helped carry his altar inside the Billy Mills Hall. He set his altar up, put a buffalo skull there, sat on a buffalo robe. He sat cross-legged and he held his hands up and he started praying. He set an eagle feather on top of that buffalo skull. And I seen this eagle feather fly off that skull, go way up, all the way around Billy Mills Hall, blessing all of us. And that's what made me a believer that our people have spiritual energy that's sacred. Well, since then, I've seen a lot of sacred things happen and help our people. I've seen things move. They did things in the daytime. They showed their power during their daytime. When the Catholics came and they said, you guys can't do this. If you do it, we're going to send you to an insane asylum. We don't want you to practice that way. A lot of our relatives died at the insane asylum called Hiawatha Insane Asylum, south of Sioux Falls, called Canton. So that sacred energy, our medicine people, and our way of prayer, they took us out in the communities because we don't want to go to their churches. the boarding schools. We practiced that from the East Coast to the West Coast. Kill the Indian, save the man. That went all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast. Kill the Indian, save the man. Still being practiced today. When I was 9 years old, we came to our community. There was 6 to 9 churches in our community, less than 100 people. And they're all fighting over us. One church said, you come to our church, we'll feed breakfast. Another church said, well, we feed breakfast and lunch. Another one would say, well, we feed breakfast, lunch, and we give you free clothes. The people start chasing each other around, and they lost their faith in grandfather. My grandfather, our medicine people said, hey, honey, and a long time ago, the Washichu that came, they were running away from a church, but as soon as they got over here, they created more church. No, they're still lost. They're still lost looking for God. Looking for God. They used to say that that virus was coming. They call that Wichokuja. Wichokuja was greed. Greed. They want more money, more this, more that, more. Never satisfied with what they have. I want more. Look at this is our church, the Black Hills. It's sacred energy. Wherever we went, east, south, west, north, we always came back to the Black Hills. Makoche, Makasetomania Hana, Oija Hana, Oyate Ongithop Hana, Ongithop. These are sacred teachings that were taught to us and how we hung on to this way of life. How we need to educate our communities, how we need to teach from a good heart, from a good spirit, not in an angry way. Those days are gone. We need to decolonize our thinking. In the boarding school, they shook you up. You listen to me, you listen. What? I'm going to whip you. Whipping, beatings, all that come from the boarding schools. Families today, some families are still fighting amongst each other. Some happened 8 or 9 generations ago. They still don't like each other. All from the boarding schools. We need to put all that negative stuff aside because our energy, Wulakota, is feeling it's getting smaller and smaller. We need to regenerate. You young people, we need to regenerate. Chunupa. We need to regenerate respect and honor. If you don't deserve to hold this and be a nacha, then you need to understand that and know. These are sacred things that were taught to us. Why we always put these out when we come together as a people. Because it's sacred. And it's something that's in all of us. It's in our DNA. Why we cry when we see Indians and movies get killed or being treated bad, it affects us. So these are things that we need to reteach ourselves. The Ochati Shakoi has these universal laws that we have to follow. The first good example was, before I close here, I want to share that is all of us know how the white buffalo calf pipe came to our people. And the two warriors that found that woman walking with this bundle, and how the bundle was brought. But when they discovered this woman, these two men, one had evil thoughts. And she called on one with evil thoughts to come closer. And this is covered with the fog or clouds or smoke. And when it lifted, this man's was just a stack of bones. And the good man was told to go back to the people and tell them, I'm bringing you a gift that's going to help us live. But today, these bones of that man is starting to regenerate. And that negative energy, he's going to become, he is a walking man now. He's taken control of our community. He's taken control of our two medicines came to the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty meeting in Fort Laramie. Two medicines. One was this chanupa that's with us today. The second medicine that was negative was a whiskey. I've seen pictures, black and white pictures of the Ochati Shakoi meeting at Fort Laramie. And I said, aha, it's good and bad, good and bad. This whiskey, which medicine are we're holding on to and following that path? Do we practice our chanupa ways? Or do we practice our whiskey ways, drinking? Which ones of our people are following? Which ones is a stronger medicine today with our Ocheti Shakoi? And I promise, I'm really happy to hear those of you who come and shared as presenters. I thank the Oglala, Tiwahe, my relatives for putting this conference on. I just want to thank you for allowing me to share these words and wish all of you a good life and good health. Pray for all of you. Yotan Shilapa Tet. Yotan Shilapa. Beat. I always get a little bit easier on if I don't speak it fluently, then I slowly try and go back and forth to English and Lakota, make some minor mistakes. So I thank you, and I want to close with a Thanksgiving song. O pena 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 maya o pela pelo pela maya o pela pelo pela maya Hanupa wakhan cha o we choni o o pe la pe lo pe la ma o pe la chichapolo o me ta casa.
O mitakepi. Ake chotewa stjärna på Tjustpapela. The Chunko Treaty Council still has 30 minutes, so I thought I'd better help our people out. We're going to be getting some resolutions ready, and it leads me up to this very important issue. Remember yesterday I mentioned that when Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland came to Lakota country, the treaty people were left out of the discussions. And ever since, we haven't been able to talk to any of the federal representatives about our treaty concerns. Therefore, we're drafting a resolution that we're going to approve here today with your approval, that in this resolution, we're going to ask the IRA governments to also approve it. And in that resolution, we will remind ourselves that the treaty councils were formed pre-IRA, 1851, 1868. Our grandfathers formed themselves to make the United States government honor the treaties they signed for us. So in that resolution, we'll send that to, we'll carry that with us as we are trying to schedule a trip to Washington, D.C. to ask for some time of Deb Haaland, wherever she has an opening in her calendar. We don't know how soon that could be, but in that is going to authorize the delegation from the treaty councils to go to Washington, D.C. and to talk to the Secretary of Interior about our treaty issues. So that'll be one of the, therefore be it resolved. Our whip man, Mike Catches Enemy, is going to help us draft those whereases and therefore be it resolved into that resolution. So those of you that have some treaty related issues that needs to be addressed in that resolution, let us know. Maybe give us some ideas, jot down on your paper what should be in this resolution, or it could be two resolutions, or depending on the contents and depending on the issues. So also we're going to ask the IRA governments to fund the treaty office on each reservation and to hire an executive director for each reservation and to support the treaty councils on your reservation. My recommendation is that treaty councils do not need a charter, a written paper, because they have been here before the IRA. It's just like you can't write a motion or a resolution or a ordinance creating a warrior society. No, because the warrior societies have been here for thousands of years. All of a sudden, we don't need a motion or anything like that to revive the warrior societies. So I'd like for your assistance. We're going to do that before we leave today, before we go back home. We like to, we always say we go to treaty meetings, but nothing comes out of it. No, we're hearing, today's the day to hear from you. And we're going to put some things in action. So do that today. Do that today. Write down what we can put in the resolution. We need something on the sacred sites, protection of the sacred sites should be included. Maybe something on the return of our relatives' remains. I don't like to call it repatriation because that's the language of the imperial, government, United States government. May call it return our relatives to us. We also, I'm suggesting that we create in this resolution, whereas or therefore be resolved that the Ocheti Shakoi Oyate would like to create its own indigenous autonomous economy. That means that we want to take control of our destiny. We need to stop this Wichokuje, what I call Stockholm syndrome. Let's create our own economy. As the Ocheti Shakoi, we're very powerful when we stick together. So we need to create our own banking system as part of this indigenous economy that we want to create for ourselves. If no objections, I would like to include that in the resolution so that this resolution should also go to the President of the United States and to let him know you need to, Mr. President, you need to find a way. I know they're restricting us under the U.S. Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution. So what happened was my relatives is when the Washichu came here, they destroyed our economy. They destroyed the buffalo economy that we had. And then they forced us to live under a grocery store. So these foods that we're eating from the grocery store is not good for us. It's not healthy for us. So let's help our IRA governments and let's guide them to guide us towards sovereignty. In this, I hope Mike's taking notes. Let's create our own indigenous economy. And also another, therefore be resolved that the Ocheti Shakoi Oyate traditional Lakota government needs to be reinstalled alongside the IRA government. And as you may recall, the treaties were signed by our Ithacha, our chiefs. And then the federal government installed not to be offensive, but the United States government installed the IRA government and saying, look, we're going to recognize you as a federally recognized tribe, but you have to use this government. No, we don't have to do that. We can still use it as a business entity, because they are a Section 17 federal corporation, and it does have some advantages to it. So, so think about that. The other thing is, because the Chanupa is part of the treaty council, that we are bound to preserve the ceremonies. I would ask that you allow us to create a customary law over the protection of the ceremonies. This is a very sensitive topic, but we have to bring it out and we have to talk about it in our circles, in your campfires. And that is the abuse and exploitations of our ceremonies. That is the abuse, the molestation and rape of our women and children in the ceremonies. We have to deal with that. So allow us to start addressing that in this resolution, because we're part of the Chanupa. Here's another, therefore be it resolved that the Ocheti Shakui Oyate hereby recommends, which we need to be diplomatic to the IRA Council, to fully fund the Lakota language, fully support and fund the Lakota language, that it be of the highest priority on the reservation and the schools. The schools, our schools are tribally contracted schools, public schools on your reservation, university, Head Start, child care. Let's make it a requirement to learn the Lakota language at school. I know the Lakota language belongs at home, and that's good, that's okay, but let's let our children speak Lakota at school. And that's gonna be our recommendation to the IRA Council. We have to find a way to work together with the IRA Council. A long time ago, our elder treaty council members really didn't like the IRA. Lots and lots of animosity towards the IRA, and I understand that. I understand why they were like that. And it's okay. It was okay for it, because what they were trying to say was, we need to stop our people from becoming assimilated and colonized under the IRA government. All you have to do is look at the RST or your constitution, and you will find very little to do with Lakota language, history, customs in that constitution. It's mostly in English. So there needs to be that type of consideration and restoring the Ocheti Shakui Oyate. And we can do this together. And when our children go off to college or they go off to military, you know what they always ask? Because it was asked of me when I left. Can you speak your language? What tribe are you? Can you show us what it sounds like? And we have to remember that each and every one of us comes from a Tiwahe, comes from a Tioshpaya. And that's who we represent when we come to a meeting like this. That's who you represent. You know, the laws, the Lakota law is very powerful. Don't call it a value or a principle or a virtue, because it's a law. So when you call it a virtue, a value, or a principle, nobody takes it serious. But if you call it, this is wopche. Woksape is one of those. Woksape. Wachantoganaka. That's the ones I'm talking about. Some of them call it the 7 laws, but actually there's more. we have to live by those because in this omanichie, pcheta okola kichie omanichie kile chanumpa yuha gomanicha. Because we work with the chanumpa, our work is very sacred. We have to respect our elders, and we have to abide by these laws, and we have to operate with very high integrity and principles of the Lakota way of life. So you have to do something about it goes back to the abuse of the pipe, the chanumpa. And there's no way around it. There's no way around to say it in a nice way. Stop giving our ceremonies away. Stop allowing the washitulas or spalas or anybody else to handle our ceremonies. Do it yourself. Handle the pcheta, the fires yourself. Don't let them handle our ceremonies. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've been visiting with many of you. We also have and consult with the keeper of the pipe, Chanumpa Awankiki. He has these same concerns. So what's that got to do with treaty? Everything, because we work under the treaty, the Chanumpa. And that treaty is actually it's a wobche. And the other part of the resolution that needs to go in there is that authorize the treaty councils to work in the international level at the UN and use the UNDRIP, UN Declaration on the Rights of Peoples, Indigenous Peoples. We have to do that work. And also, Mike, could you include in there, we are requesting the assistance of the IRA governments to create a headquarters in the Black Hills so that we have a base of operations to attack the mining and all of these treaty depredations.
Ale Hokahe Hihani Washte Chichab na Isha Ugna Oglala Oyankeki Ho Isha Hoch Tima Lel Tima Milo na Isha Grandpa Isha Hena Ugna Taku Ehapi Ki Oyaki Hip. Just want to say good morning to the beautiful relatives here, and I would like to hear from the Oglala people. We have Milo here, who's been involved with treaties for many years. We have Lekshi Bill, my grandpa sitting back there. So if we could hear from one of the Oglalas, I would like to hear what their thoughts are on the resolution too.
Each of the treaty council has an hour today to speak. I'm glad Cedric is here for the Hunkpapa. And so as we speak today, as our elders speak today, we're gonna jot down those points and put it in a resolution for the IRAs. And it's gonna be approved by you representing your Tioshpaye and the treaty councils. And so I wanted to make sure we do something about that. If there's, remember, it has to be treaty related, so that we can address it in Washington, D.C., so we can get some things going at that level. The IRA, maybe we want the IRA to go with us to Washington, D.C. So those are the things that we need to discuss today.
Hoka.
There was one.
Oglala, we got a question?
Yeah, love
All
you.
right, we got a question and then we're gonna go to the Oglala Oyate, Bill and Richard. first.
Oh.
Hold. Hansi Phil, let in.
Also,
Taku,
Rick.
wahochi chinkle.
Uphill, let's uchi,
Oh,
uchi.
let ya hunt a quick. I'll let the grandma go first.
All right. Hello, this is Lovey again. I'm here for this day. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank everybody for taking part, for caring. That's mostly what it is. It's caring about your people, about what's going on. But I wanted to talk about something. Hey, little Owaio, hey, Mulewatiki here. Hela Lakota taku uspeuchakab. Tamit oxila mit hok kakosala, gliders na watosna takun e. Chosna ipach e. Chosna xiwagakinas na oake. Chosna ake. Tanke awaktawa I. Kutawa ina oboagake. Yunka tumaye moshib. Wana boji hel egna kap. Unspe taku toki unwayona takuku yuhacha. Hena egna kap. Ta tumawa I. Yunka wishteche. Wishteche na womakiakis. Cha xiwagake. Na taku le poaki hunter. Prewachi hunter emashi. Cha waka. Le pre. Le hihone ki le washte pe. Cha iha ab. No, wato ampetu ki washte he u. Na waji ha happy washte. Hena ki xiape. Hihone a hip chance to happy. No one le warlock da hunters he ampetu washte. Na le ta ya kina poke ha happy washte kte. Hetchega pina wahina pre. As he samia oyong to hecha. As common papsele is down the option. Samia ayang kap. Chaheta wahina pre. Chahena el om pap. Na hinangana kakoza ki uswichala. Chahe osna oma pachi as kipshin. Chahecha oblakachi. Otab hecha. Wakaja kakoja lila otab. Jaho koib as toki wakanle wi kwab chakwapsle. Cha ke gihonim. Cha na akele wuji le chai le he makoche. He miel. Makoche unhab. As doshke washitu le te yuhakina elsna hiub. Won't get caption. Is tag no kill caption. Agana ugnalash na hiu nasnata. Bachta taku unhockey in a pat hang egleonashna. Elsna te you hug. Day to my yab. Head no pakia hechum. No pakia. Eta kiayana le BI app. Helila hoch glooni ham. As hetchet dushne. El onkip. As ongapsni. Elwi chashanke, but hunkium. It chef taku leche wapi wa ahi. Na mie michaje ke oamashi. Na hechamoke le makole owa ewagana keke ichu na tagu a range unit apchiktam yankte. Na he ichu ke heta tua chiu ke el egina kokt. Na hechelon chimshin. Makoche unkitro. Na wana unkumte. As which alapshin na unkapshin. Chaita unki. Down up hop. Na le tagwan land committee after Michuit kuku el ya. Na woglake. Le taku wap Johanna. Woglake. Yung kan nach omshni. E kaki akitchu tankona woglaka hona lechi hoki gaat ahona. Atas nog een use option. Na he ake kak keep up here. Chete kia yana wana wap kare. Atayota tina nang wap kare. Hiuna onkiokta keabona. No leho te you hogina atayo habitu. Na det taku taku atayo juju pina. China ko apia with chaship. Chahechel wana unojim. Lehonia tagni chumshin. Cha le on kio ke akele mechuin ko ki wap gaken dat is mos aping. Wana iai on a gahokt. Hechungt. Cha he hawin le makocheki. Ata te ake khila. Na wujik ake pejik da khaka. Hechi makoche. Cha he koi jup watching. As akelung kiab. Cha he nang na wana me num wana kaki lechi pejik da khaka hechi na lechi wak bawash de recho hechi. So wana hevo makoche num ata ok wa okin nam wake what she wechi you know cha he ha lele un hina shi you khalele hina wana wa glake cha lel wagna lel ewa land protection we want that not the BIA hel we cha sha in ta kushia on caption some people let you tak ma ya no kipa so ham lel wake toksha makochi chun awan kokta kya as we chamochi chaya on question tale land protection he nata ko unha as 20 you only hasina ka buji ha ata taku tua khapcha otkhai cha awan yon kap wami ktav yon nasna apuyan sukya you count taku machine road grader app tagwa hina ata pahabie chaya tagnish cha ke hel ukia yana glok o koya kapher as yo ni tagni chusni ito kapsni le ele utomshin cha ke hel cha hinangna unkaki papher na le tagwan lila glo oni habatoshna BIA ayata tagnish hoch maybe washteb hoch he washchunke washteb ata ichum aslena unkaki prakena washteshni China ake na sacred sites ina ake hina iwoya glakini na ehe kokerti na oa ergana kin na takul soya chimpantas utio ke ke toksha uchun ke pauzona mon kokte pila maya
Before we continue, I'd like Danny and Vivian to take good notes from here on out today. Not that you didn't, but we're going to be forming a resolution that we're going to take to Washington, D.C. So I need you guys to pay attention to our elders. So she mentioned the protection of land as very important to us. Can you ask the IRA governments to stop leasing land to the Washichula? Can you ask our people to start using our land for ourselves? The other thing is food sovereignty. Why aren't we producing our own food for ourselves? The grocery stores are making us sick. So that's something that can come out of here, guiding the IRA governments to, hey, turn things around. They're heading. If we don't do anything now, if we don't say anything now. So
Okay. Wana le taku moyu ki le chichukte. Le chala ke se wagla ke he washte agna ke na unchi ki le lila was ake suta ospe he lila ewake oaste. Taku he honey unchi mitkhaki wichoni ekim na hechus evogla ke asna. O he Cecilia Martin e japi. Wana makashina kyunke. Asle vogla ke wichakhe. Na misha lechus et khokata taku espewan tekile. Doani oyate ki lechus e. Tala mila haskat khawap kikinaha. le wash ake tankiki on kius pa ki he. Toni iaska bletsu se eagna ko oyaki tesni. Toni. Hena oyate toni chimpsni. As hetsu se wonyu ki he oyate wichachi. So he nocho. Dona hoch hena la koti apsni wana ieska wankte. We should all come to a good consensus and put this right in front of everybody today that you cannot put the tribal government's constitution and rules and regulations with the treaty because the treaty came before that. The treaty is a separate entity. The late Chief Oliver Red Cloud, Wendell's grandpa, used to say, there is a treaty tribe and then there's an Indian tribe. The Indian tribe, Kilehe, that's what he was referring to, the IRA government. But the treaty tribe was the people that still had family members' signature on them. So let's not try to put them both together. And I hope you all agree to that understanding because he brought that out. Thank you, Phil. Wopila.
I want to clarify what I said. Because the Washichulan uses this paper is why we're doing that. I'm not trying to marry the IRA and the treaty. Remember, I heard a term that they said nations make treaties. Treaties do not make nations. So let's hold all of the ridicule and think positive and to use your mind to come to some great solutions today so that we can move forward as a Oyate. We are the Oyate, and we have a Chanumpa that we go by. So I think we should continue talking. I'll hand the floor back over to the Alpaha, and we're taking notes. So also the notes of this summit will be available sometime after we close the session. So, and hopefully we'll come back together again in December for the treaty conference. We're going to keep moving forward. Maybe we'll have some reports in December on these things. Oh, okay, we have another question, but we need to, after this one, and we need to get to the next presenter or to the Treaty Council.
My name is Regina Brave from Ogallala. I spoke yesterday. One of the things that I agree with what you said, because the United States will only recognize the tribal council. And we've been talking about that since you're the government of our people, that we almost have to go along under you guys about the treaty, or with them, with you, because the tribal council needs to understand that they're still Lakota in spite of working for the Department of Interior. That's what they're under. Okay, I understand that. But then the treaty people, okay, so there's the IRA government and there's a traditional people. And the traditional people or the treaty people, we don't have a voice. And but what we're saying is that since the United States only recognized the IRA government, that we need to work with you on this resolution. And that's a good idea. But the wording and everything else has to come. But before you even start that, what you need to do is demand from the United States the original treaty that was talked about at Fort Laramie in 1868. They came for a reason. It's because we beat the United States in wars. 2 wars we won, and it was the United States that wanted the treaty. Okay, so they came to us, and the commissioners were told, give the Indians everything they want. And so one of the things we said was we would allow them to dig for gold, because every country has to have a gold base in order to make the paper money. Okay, understand that. But Mahbialuta said he would only allow the Washichu to come to dig for gold for 15 years, but half of that gold would be placed in special appropriations for our seventh generation. See, that's where the word seventh generation comes in. The seventh generation would be my sons, my daughters, and our younger people that we're speaking for right now. And what happened with that, they have to have set aside half of the gold that they took out of the Black Hills. So we need to ask or demand the original copy of the 1868 treaty. It's in there. And then beside half of the gold, there was another one. Let me see. We would only allow white people on this in treaty territory only to hire engineers, doctors, and education specialists, or whatever you call them, to teach our people how to be doctors, how to be engineers, and how to be able to run our own reservation as a nation. And once they were done teaching us, and once we built our hospitals and education places, then they were to leave. They couldn't stay here permanently. No white people were going to be allowed into treaty territory. This is a nation. And we made those rules. Mahbialuta was a very, they knew more about this. And because of the gold, they knew it had value to the United States. And they probably could have done something with it then, but they thought about us and how we needed to learn the language. We needed to have the language, the education, learn the laws. And there was one more thing that came about. And so those were the four. And the last one was this technology, to be able to converse with other indigenous peoples of the country or the world and start uniting with them to work together, because we all became prisoners of war. They were trying to civilize us. But my understanding is we're not in a civilization. We were civilized already because we could live off the land. We could take care of it. We didn't require money. We didn't require electricity. We didn't require running water. We kept this land the way it was. And they said, oh, you're nomadic, you live from place to place. The reason we did that was to protect the land base so it could continue growing. And they came along and just took over, and they said they were going to civilize us. Do they speak two languages? No, but we do. We had to learn their language in order to communicate with one another, communicate with the other indigenous people here in this country. You paint that whole United States, from Alaska, Canada, United States, to Mexico, to South America, that's all indigenous peoples. You look at that map now, there's only little red spots all over this country, and yet they want more. Now they're attempting to have us dig for, they're taking uranium out of the Black Hills when Department of Interior, which we should be taken to the World Court, because they had the trust responsibility to protect our resources in this country, and they didn't do it. But we need to go after that original treaty and demand it. And I know it's stored in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that's number one. We use that one. And then the resolution that the people are going to come up with what's going on with us. After that treaty was ratified and proclaimed, thereafter, the United States had no business interfering with that treaty because we're a nation. So we have every reason to go after them for all the violations that they committed. And somebody mentioned that they were going to take them to World Court. You don't go to the United States government and submit that complaint, you go to the State Department. The State Department is the one that travels all over the world for treaties. We only give a copy to the United States government, but it has to be the state government. The State Department is where you take this treaty issue.
With that, I think there's therefore be resolved that the Ochete Shakwe Oyate is requesting an accounting of the gold and natural resources that has been extracted from the Chesapa. If you could put that down, because I've never seen a Bill, have you ever seen a official report on the gold that has been extracted? So we need to put that in there. And also another, therefore be it resolved, is that Ochete Shakwe Oyate is requesting reparations from destroying our economy and our language, our history, our culture as part of this resolution. So I better get off the microphone. I'm starting to get long-winded, like my Transhis are sitting over here. They're probably Chazeka at me. We'll be taking notes. We have 2 note takers. Those also be available to us after the meeting. So, and it's also being recorded on Zoom and KOLC TV. So if you also please remind us if we missed something, or even after the meeting's over, you come up with something that needs to be part of this resolution. I think we should keep that resolution open until we're ready to go to Washington, D.C., so that we have as much issues that we can take to the President and Secretary of Interior. The only reason why we work with the Secretary of Interior is because that's in the treaty. So we're just, it's a courtesy, but our relationship is with the United States of America, the President of the United States of America. And myself, I don't like to, as a treaty director, I don't like to go to the state for any reason whatsoever. Our relationship is based on a treaty with the United States government. So I urge you to stop working with the state of South Dakota or any other state on anything. Make them go through the Secretary of Interior, and then the state can, and the Secretary of Interior can come to us and consult with us. Thank you. Mitakias.
Okay, next is the Oglala. First on the list here is Bill Means. Richard Moosecamp after him. Richard Broken Nose. Joe American Horse. Milo Yellowhair. Steve Dubray. And Dwayne Martin. So
everybody was telling me to be brief, they said. The only thing that I want to I want to encourage the people when we start talking about a different government, and when we talk about, not going to the state or going to Washington, we've done that many times. Matter of fact, during time of Wounded Knee, we went to Washington. We took a bill there called the Bradley Bill. After many, many hearings, meetings all over the treaty territory. We even went up towards Fort Peck. We took Fool's Crow, Matthew King, and Mr. Kill's enemy, some of the elders with us, we took a caravan over there. And that was the days when all the attorneys were going around, all the attorneys for the tribe, I mean, like Sinoski, there's another one named Lazarus. There's 4 attorney businesses or attorney firms that got money from the Black Hills. They already got paid. They split up, I think, $12 million. They each of them got about $3 million already. So they paid themselves right away. But yet we refused. So even though we refused, they still got paid. So maybe those law firms owe us $3 million apiece because they're the only ones that got money from our treaty, our resources, our home, our chisapa. So I'll bring that up as a first point. Secondly, when we went to Washington, we paid for everything ourselves. We didn't depend on no tribal government. We didn't ask them even. We said, we'll raise the money ourselves. So I tell we had all these elders on the buses. And plus, we had to have a place to stay. Those of you who've been to Washington, you know it's very expensive. And so we were able to find churches. And here, when we got to the churches, the ones they put us in, I tell you, there was rats in there, everything, man, mice, and critters, man, all over the place. And so we said, well, where can we go? So we had a meeting with all the people in the BIA building. We went down there and said, well, let's go to the BIA building because it belongs to us. So and we took over the whole BIA building because we had no place to stay. Some of you remember that. And we submitted to them the 20-point solution paper. We didn't go there empty-handed, which included like a resolution, what he's talking about. We included many of the things that would make Indian country more just, more self-sufficient, more independent, more in a business reality of our people. And so we tried that. We did that. We even went to the United Nations. We're still there every day trying to embarrass the United States before the world so that world court thing, it always comes up. But we investigate that at the UN, and it's almost impossible because the UN is run by the very countries that stole everything from not only us, but in Africa and Asia, over towards Europe, all over. What they did here in America, they did before over in other parts of the world. So you're asking the wolves to give you a chance to enter into the chicken house. So they're not going to allow that. But anyways, it's always a dream. I mean, we call for that world court because we need justice. We need someone somewhere to say that's not right. But it's almost impossible. I say almost because, I don't know, we have to have a lot of friends to speak for us around the world in order to create a case, because the United States has to give permission to be sued. And even if you don't get permission and you get enough people in the court to admit your case, we were part of a case in Nicaragua when Reagan invaded them and put a blockade around there. We was there. And the United States, they lost the case. Everybody supported Nicaragua and said, let the people have their food, let the people have what they need in order to survive. But Reagan said, we don't have to listen to the World Court. We're the United States. We're one of the founding members. And so they ignored the World Court. So the World Court is not the answer. However, international relations is part of the answer because we need to establish those, and we're working on that every day at the UN to establish relations with other governments. So eventually we're going to call the United States on the carpet. So I want to say that when we talk about building our own economy, our own banks, we can't start with the United States. We have to get the money from other places like foundations, like rich people, those people that want to share their wealth. And there's plenty of them. There's more than we think. Out of all the money that's given to poor people, to various causes around the world, there's only 3% of all that money that goes to indigenous people. I'm telling you these things because it's not easy. And the other part is when you ask, okay, United States to fund the Treaty Council, if we're trying to go and show that the tribes are not doing the right thing for our people, and we're trying to show that they're not taking care of the Kisapa, if we're trying to show that we want to be independent, why would we go to the House of the United States, the federal government, to ask for anything? So I think the spirit of independence means that we try to do as much as we can. Now, that's very hard because not everybody wants to recognize what we're doing. They're going to say Treaty Council, tribal government. Well, they're federally recognized, so we can't fund you, but we could fund the tribal government. So that's the things that we have. I'm only giving you this as a reality, what I experienced in my years of working both for Wounded Knee, for the United Nations, other places that we've been. It's not impossible, but when you want to be independent, you have to act independent. I had an old friend. He passed away now. He came to the first treaty conference at Standing Rock when we were trying to talk these same things about being independent, of having our own bank, our own economy. You know what he said? It was simple. His name was John Mohawk. He's from Six Nation, Haudenosaunee. He was a Seneca Indian from over east. They have a lot of relations with the United States because they're the ones that gave the United States its constitution, the Six Nation. They copied that. And so John Mohawk said, if you want to be sovereign, you got to act sovereign. So you think it's a simple statement, but when you're dealing with tribal government, that's where you got to think. We got to do almost everything we can on our own. With those people that believe in us from these foundations, from these independent funders, people that believe in the Indian people, in the Kisapa, they know that it belongs to us because we could prove it. It's been proven in court that it was illegally taken in 1877. And they admit it in the case of United States versus Sioux Nation. Very important case because the law says the Black Hills is ours. It was illegally taken, and it says there's never been a more ripe and rank case of injustice towards the American Indian than the taking of the Black Hills of South Dakota. So we have the backing legally. We have to make a lot of people understand that. And again, on behalf of John Mohawk and all the things that started at Standing Rock, I see now Standing Rock is here, so I tip my hat to those great people of the Hunk Papa that understood we need to go to the international community to gain support, not for the solution, we ourselves, self-determination. That means whatever happens, we make it happen. Whatever we do, we have to depend on ourselves. So it's very, very difficult to find those people who are willing to support these efforts. But look at this, what we're doing here. Even though it's hard, we got hotel bills, all that going on, but the treaty councils, they did this. And they did it with the help of the tribe, I'm sure. A lot of us traveled on tribal per diem and this and that. Nothing wrong with that, but yet and still, someday we're going to have our, like Phil says, our own bank. But that's in the future. Meantime, we got to do whatever means necessary in order to be independent. If you want to be sovereign, you got to act sovereign. Oheche chulo, takios.
Amitaku pi yuha. Mi chante tana pe choose up in ha. Ala pe to kilila yopia. Hiwi tap in a wogada kapik. Mi chante marsh telo. Mabli he just later. Ja kokata kya ja oyate. Uchasha wafte tushne yopia wogada kapik. Chanke ohena oheche wo yukcha hecha. Oda nakon wo ichala. Ohena ocho kokata wichonkta iwelagaka chanke hena ashtiktalo. I'm very honored and thankful that I can be here, and I'm thankful that you're here. And I'm very inspired by our teachers, or the people that gave the hopefulness of our future, of our people. I thank my relatives. I thank the members of the American Indian movement for stepping up and taking the courage back in 1960s, and how they were led the way of bringing back our culture. Some died and some lost their freedom. But the organization had a spirit, the energy that put together of many warriors, women and men. And they enhanced our thought that we carried already as Lakota Oyate. And we will continue to lead that movement. Oyate, we are now wichashtek aheche. The coherentness, the spiritual coherentness of our elders' words will never die. Seems like throughout our history, we're always protesting just to be human being, just to be recognized. Our ancestors, Crazy Horse, protest. Geronimo protest, Red Cloud, all of our tribal leaders protest. In the modern world, still our ancestors, our relatives here, led the protest. We're always, even if, as we speak today, you go down the street corners, our relatives are laying in the alleys, holding up their signs saying they need a drink. They put labels on our relatives. They're drunks or they're homeless. But me, the way I look at those relatives, they're protesting. They're doing their share. They gave up their well-variety. They gave up their freedom. They choose to slowly die to remind the Americans, the America world, that our people are abused, the injusticeness, the land, the stolen land. They're doing their share of protesting. So if you see them, buy them a sandwich, buy them a cup of coffee, they're contributing to our cause. Because most of our American Indian people throughout the Indian history, technically, were still homeless in our own country. And that's why they call it the Oyate. They say that we are homeless, drunks, but we don't look at it that way. In the future, we don't know. The tribal government may be done away with by the federal government. The only one that's going to stand up and be here for the people is the Treaty Council and the people that are in here. It's really good to see each other here, refreshing our minds, our intelligence. They gave us some intelligence, very sacred, that we will continue to lead the journey, take care of our people. My great-great-grandfather, Woftucha Chips, one of his best kolas that he knew is a man named Tashonka Witko. Biologically, we're not related to him, but we're just friends. Wolak Khota. There was a time when throughout the history from my grandfathers, the Oyate wanted to give one of those headdresses to Crazy Horse, as Wichalashnikau. He refused. Zuya Wichashra Hemachachunke Wichakizawa Unechel Makama Hiblamnik Taloya. Tua Wapkaha Unchans Natakomani, Uyohila, Oyate Wochakich Ueloyak. Onatita ko yohila opta yaunk te hechaloyak. Ta hena oyakish nihanta wapkaha unshnioyak. So when they killed Crazy Horse, my great-grandfather buried his kola somewhere. And is to this day, the Washichus, anthropologists, and the curious Washichus come into our world to find some information. As there was a spiritual reason why our relative, just only his name is still here. But the contentness, the compassion, the wawashake of such great leaders, throughout our history, there are many Crazy Horse people, there are many Red Cloud, there are many Spotted Tail. Today, what's vital and what's very important to all of us is we have to go to the schools. Wola Kota, we talk about treaty, the promises from the government. The government said the day when the Lakota the indigenous people is culturally competent to live in a white man's world, the government will no longer supervise your Lakota, you're free. That means that when our tribal members go to college and receive a certificate, they're legally, the Washichu, they're culturally competent to live in that white man's world. The government will no longer supervise you. You are free. You can get all your land titles back from the BIA and be free. The government will terminate the tribal government. Kokata, the tribal government, your enrollment with the federal government will disappear. We have to find our own way to prove that we existed, this is our land. You have to have a sovereignty enrollment department from the Treaty Council. You have to have what it takes to become an ancestry, human being today. You have a lot of work to do yet. This is another point in our life where we have to bring our people together. So today we will remember Tashonka Witko from my grandfather's perspective. Oyatik Jania Wichonkta, Natokata, Dokelunkoyan Partnach, the new Onktalo. Tashonkiewicz go ogichize yink tachnash guide hokam, olo ahia kiapolo. Tate tai yo no waji tate tai yo no waji oh hai oh ya te wa ne ha wa ye lo tate tai yo no waji tate tai yo no waji ai og her Tashonkiewicz go traoloa og her to han ogichize yink tachnash ahia gaver. That song belongs to Crazy Horse himself only. You do not have permission to sing that anywhere. You do not have permission to share his song anywhere. That only remains with the man himself. Ohechet to Pilamaya Apollo.
Next speaker is Richard Brokenose. Two American Horse and Milo Yellowhair.
I know 2 days led north, so you probably recognize me, who I am and where I come from. Oklahoma. There's a big change here. Treaty Summit meeting we have, this is our third day. They have a big change, Ochechi Shakoin Holiday Inn downtown. They changed that. Ochechi Shakoin 7 Council Fire Inn up there. He said, they changed that Holiday Inn. Ochechi Shakoin Inn. Oishe Dukdeel wa uktat chensne. O as hektakia before the United States, hektakia America. We are indigenous, sovereign nation. We're not United States people. We're not United States government. Indigenous oyate heonchapi. Othoka heta oyate ki. Oyate ki wicho unki na wicha unkuheha. Chanupa lena waniche. Chanupa ke lena waniche. Hoya hektakia oyate wicho unkuheha. Wia wa ukap. Okay, we'll that. Devil's Tower. Oyan ke akota tukte el hechata. Ata makop oya hanke ta makop oya. Wichasha Yamani heche. Wichasha Yamani ho heche el honey. They're hunters. Wole omanim. Pahaka yankapke. They were sitting on a hill, resting. I sneak up here. As they saw somebody coming. Oyu khan la uki is a tehinchala. Te san tehinchala wa uka. It's u. And we shayamani kedena heche, they got bad minds. Wa yes le we ankidila we ostesa. Ila we ostet. Boxkin as a prehaska. No, that's Pawishasha kilena oma shigwig tu shigwishak ipachtakia hinana. Pamajila. Machpiat ho machpiawa heche wishasha in atoyate wichwankapia. Oyuka heake ho machpia he ioptia wishasha yamaniki he tu in a spioke. It's all gelatin out of bone. It's a spot. Wichasha, we anki he ke ho wichasha tiata ke yaganikte. Oyate nitra, your people are still over there. Hechi oyate wichon. Hecha yaganik donka. I am the message. I'm the message from the Lakota Oyate, among Lakota Nation, Buffalo Nation, among the Nation. I brought message to you, to Oyate, in a Wochakalaking. And I said it's there before the state and federal BIA tribal government. Those days they're not here. They're not here. And I honey, we show and that's who we are. That's where we come from. Hechatahan unkupi. Oyukaho dokum se etchunkeki ho he echel oyaka ka oyake. Oyate ki hena memea lechel wichonkte. O lechum se wichotikte. O hechum se ki ha helwa ukte. Helwa una hochokata wahikte. Ohelam bring message to the Buffalo Oyates. Ohenaya keki. Ohechel wana hina e watoha tuwa ho ana hektaka. The day, the time, hohe uchasha hektaka pa. Sure enough, there's another one coming. Something this way, this is coming. Akhala uki stam de ptecha hechel uke hechel. Ptebale patranka skacha uche. Come for the white buffalo cap woman is coming to that, which Asha again. Kankhala uyunka wian chauke wian chaunka takuan kinke lechu akata baby one you can't he takuan kin o hechel unaha ho inaha ho which Asha he following ya to the Wichotiki Hitcha. Now the Memea Wichotiko Hona Timahu, O Homini Hiana Ho, Yunai. Wichasha Itacha Kihina Yankapicha, El Wichitoko. And come the model that she brought over, O He Leganaka, Leganaka. Oh, Wichashi Tacha Kihinata. Mani, we are here mani kupi, na woku na mani kupi. Ocha hotaku hechi he, ayahi hechi ho. Unkipazo pina, yubalecha yo he. Yawana he, we are here ata. He unwrapped that baby. Wakhenja la chaheche lichala he. Uka he bebela. Bebela chakina he yuhadeche yuha una oyate. Oyati hena elwichahi. Ayubalechon come chanupa. That chanupa is right there. The bottle inside that chanupa. That's what we got here. And chanupa. Shaki he. Na ihupaki. Chanupa shaki he taku huo. Chanupa shaki he kori. We are all the blood of the nation. We won't kile. That's Yachankihe, we are the blood of the nation. Now Chankihe is leadership. Leadership and responsibility. Or another, leadership and responsibility. Korikihe, we're the blood of the nation. Ohena ahi. Ochanopakile. Yachuk tahwoy, in a yachuk desnech yachuk. I'll take that. Kanupa. Kamiyanki here, I brought message to the Tatranka Oyateki. Tatranka Oyateki. Oh, Wichasha Oyate netraki kuja piki, na woka kijeki, na wo iotieki. Or then on Chanupakile, you have to pray for your people and whatever, seeking people and wo yoteki hina, wo cheki ya karingte. And Chanupakile on you ipachia out of the way, you ipachia, which hot lohaktisne, Chanupakile, otrala. o he o taku ia kapi ki na wie ki che tukte e o e tano pawa o kupe o he ake. O wianki e ake. Buffalo calf woman had on he pointed at the woman, o wianki. Remember, you're a woman, wianki lena. Your nation giver. Your nation giver. We cha shaki echa. We cha shaki the leadership and responsibility. Wianki lena echa. Today we have all kinds of woman leaderships. Where we at? What happened? What happened? A nation giver. We shown chage ayahikte. We ankelena we chakara. Now we chashaki we chashayakara. We have 7 sacred rites: manhood ceremony, womanhood ceremony. We lost all of that. We lost all the womanhoods. We lost all the manhood ceremony. What happened? We have to get back to those in that. Oh, hina shall this summer ki he haka. Oh, what kind of ki ho you kid? Which inshallah. You listen to your woman. You listen to your mom. That's your mom. Listen, obey your woman. Oh, shilaki. Oh, wichasha ateya kile ateya. Listen to your dad. Listen to your father. Tell me, your nationhood giver. You gave us a nation. Be a nation. Be a nation. Always be a nation. Oh, we're here today. Lakota Titwan Lakota. We are a nation. We're not a state, United States government. We're not a States America people. We're indigenous Oyate. We are indigenous. Sovereign nation. Sovereignty. As every one of us. Ohena Yankeke. Ohena government he China Lakota. Wash akeke Chanopakile wash akeke. We make treaties with the pipe. We make treaties. 1868, 1851 territorial peace treaty. We make that Chanumpa. They lie to us. The Washiku is lied to us. Anayankeke. Ohena Kiksuyapo Huyanki. Be a nation. We chong chake ayahipi. Ohena hokshi chake apiktacha onhuya and ompina. And we chashaki ishahano leadership and responsibility. A kontranka unkopicha chanupawa unkopi. I seen a lot of women today. I seen a lot of women. Ata chanupon yuha na we are going yuha na. What kind of mistrack? Kind of mistrack a little bit. Apetesami chanupawa. Wichashaki. Ashaki kuktake. We have to think about those. Now leadership and responsibility, that's us. And now give. Wala hinayake. Taku ota wakatsanka unkopi. And we still have our chanupa. They brought the chanupa over here about 20 centuries ago, 19 centuries ago. Chanupa they brought back over here. So many kanju oyate. And we still got our pipe. We didn't kill our pipe. We still have our own chanupa. We still got chanupa. The United States government, it ruined the whole thing, the whole world. The whole world. The Roman government, we live in a Roman government today. Washichu laws here. Those are Roman government. Those are Roman people. Who killed Jesus Christ? Who killed Jesus Christ? The Roman government. The Roman government killed Jesus Christ. They killed Jesus Christ. Who killed John F. Kennedy? John Kennedy. There's no justice. No justice. Because it's their law. It's their law. John F. Kennedy. There's no law. Is anybody convicted? I don't think so. They convict nobody. Who killed Robert Kennedy? The Roman government. They did any justice? They put in jail anybody? I don't think so. Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King. Who killed Martin Luther King? The same government. The same government that we live on today here, so-called America. Now they're trying to kill our Mother Earth, Makocheki. Uranium, a lot of other things. They're trying to kill the Makoche. If they kill the Makoche, they kill us. They kill us, yeah. And I say, watch here, because today, how we know Pina Upake. Oh, I don't know. Unki, which own be happy to. We're living in government, we live in the bad government. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. They stole our Black Hills, they stole our land, they stole our kids, they stole our babies. Just like a girl talked yesterday. We have all those war. We have to remember resolution or something. I think they talk about it. We have to make a resolution or something, take it to the Washington, D.C. We have to be like a nation. We have to talk like a nation. We have to act like a nation. And we Yankee don't make any resolutions. We Yankee don't make any resolutions. Let the Wicharsa make the resolution. Like remember, we're not going to use holiday anymore. We'll go in.
Oh. Joe American Horse. Actually, Joe American Horse. Next speaker. Milo Yellowhair and Steve Dubray and Dwayne.
I'm going to cover a few things here. One of them is that I forgot to mention. 1868 treaty was signed by chiefs, headbands, shirt wearers, and common people signed that 1868 treaty. There are 29 people signed that 1868 treaty from Oglala Sioux tribe.
I thought I'd tell you that. The other one is Nancha Obaniche. Nancha, you're talking about they have a meeting. Obaniche means a meeting. And in there, when they have the meeting, everybody talks Lakota. Nobody speaks English. It's Lakota meeting. And when you talk so long, they tap that. You know, they tell it to you, you're talking too long, you know. But now, today, it's council elders. It's man and woman. Not it's man meeting, but now council elders is man and woman, and you have the things to, you know, get it done. One of the things I mentioned is, I don't want to take too much of your time. I was in the service. I was in Marines. In 1963, I came home, and I worked in a tribal court. And the chief judge of the tribal court is Moses Tubuls. That's where I found out about this Sioux Nation Council. In 1946, Congress passed Court of Law, and that any Indian can file a complaint against the United States government. So the Sioux Nation filed against Black Hills against the government. And that's where the Sioux Nation, my uncle, Moses Tubuls, was a vice chairman. And there's a gentleman named Edwin Reddoor from Fort Peck is a chairman. And Eunice Larrabee from Eagle Butte was a treasurer. And there's a young lady named Allen from Niobrara, Nebraska, as a secretary. Sioux Nation Council at that time in 63 and 64, they have their meetings all over the places. And they're talking about, like we're talking about now, what we can do to support the council at the same time trying to get our land back. And at that time, it wasn't a land back, it was just a just compensation. We want the money, you know, for taking the Black Hills. But now it's changed. In 1985, Supreme Court issued an order that the government violate the Indian people. So therefore they can, they awarded $50 million to the Sioux Nation. So, you know, there's money available you're mentioning. But to us, we don't know how to handle money. The reason I said that is that Alois Cobell win a lot of money for us. Oglala Sioux, not only Oglala Sioux tribe, but tribal government. But what we done with it, I don't know what we did with it, all that money. So you got to understand something. Money plays a part in everything. My nephew Milo and I went to attend a meeting in Hot Springs. Edgemont's going to develop the uranium mining. But we have no kind of control over them because they're in their state and they have a state regulation to do that. And that's where the nuclear people gave money to those people to approve the landowners the right to drill uranium mining is different now. They drill a hole, they put water in and draw the water out uranium, and they dry out the water and they took the uranium. So that water that goes in there, come back out, probably goes into a water, drinking water. I don't know, maybe. But all I can say is I told those people, you don't know me and I don't know you, but we're neighbors. And what you did here can affect us. In other words, we can start a lawsuit. The tribe can start a lawsuit if they want to stop that. So these are issues that are here. And I'm glad some of you here, thank you for staying here, because this is what happened when you're talking about 1938 Indian tribal government. People do want to say, I have nothing to do with it. I'm not going to go down there. Well, you should have gone down and vote against it, but they didn't. So it got passed. You have to participate. Again, like I mentioned this to you because I'm at that age where I'm not going to be around any very long. the Sioux Nation Council back in those days, you know, I drove my uncle around, so I go to the meeting with him. So I thought I'd tell you that much about it. Thank you very much for kind attention. I wish the school kids are here so they can understand what's going on.
Oh, let's just do a little. Milo. Dwayne Martin, Steve Dubray, then Dwayne. And then Harold Lepton again. And then me.
Okay. Na taku kiasna. United Nations tawai ha wikse. Microphones kini na hasna. Hechasna takon hechi unkim. Ha chit otro kan ha omnichable. Let's already wogalakai Mobridge, International Indian Treaty Council formation. Now, when you think about it, that's what 50 years ago now. And the old men and the ladies that came to Mobridge in those days saw something in the future that a lot of us are being a part of today. When we talk about these things, and we're talking about the going to Washington, D.C., well, we went to Washington, D.C. with the chiefs. And that meeting only lasted 15 minutes. But as soon as 15 minutes came, they President of the United States, and they he chechashni hanta ilala na le wana omniche tanko makasi domine yanke loyam hecha ninkta lap hechi lock the loyam the United Nations the hanke hechi wogalaka na hey Washington, President Gerald Ford, United Nations, now, the rights of indigenous people up here. Working group on indigenous populations. 11 years, 12 years can in now let's actually hear we need to make a resolution now. United Nations resolution Pasipo recognizing, enduring, and resolve the option. Not kill a mine capo. Not taco que na won't speak yunke. China ilagia po. Na hena taco que na kule Washington D.C. unke le tacomunica honey wanatona chan Clinton he government to government executive order on kaka le cha a kota que hena tacomunica he yo khlate State Department apo hena kakia Fort Laramie he cha bichunki chum. You can't hippie. Kahena sakela kota kitaku yapo hana ya ogalaka. Na de glusta me ha ke yata tiata kigalona e ha ke ha oira ma hima kiapi. Ke taku herte. Ele la kota ogalaka ke le cha twitcha you is ka wachim un chimpelo ya. You might have ho mne wa na Nasula lo apcha niecha la kote uspenicha na toksha ha luias ka bo aki pa lo pret. Tita ko ke hena chito hanta ke hena lila ish ansole option. Ablo za hanta. Na lekto chala jena ku yoga kai. Le tokte le 1868 treaty han ki yankahwo. Tukta to chahe ganan ka beche. Hey, you want like a hunter taco and you take a hen and honey, and wash it to get to conchance taco, and a caligulash now, woa. O wagnaka. Nation Kishan said you come, on a recording secretary up on hobby. Chahe is an ahecho. Chayun can't taco field notes of the proceedings of the 1868 treaty in Fort Laramie. Yeah. That piece of document is what Lakota men and women had been talking about for a long time. Toshke he, wo Lakota he, arbeleza heche. Toshke he, yecha wainka heche. Hena hecha di la kila wainka oktoenke. She hena chaleto che wala kawanta ashna tranka ke hasha. Ale wo Lakota ke lecha unkara pe ash akiu na wainke tranka ekta kiu na hecha akiu truksha na hecha iop de ya pon ya. Lakota take han poena twene na chakchi kunshni. E challenge tako cha tuecha tukte wo egna ka heche hene chala dila yoga lakab. Poena hena tako ki ata tala truksha ska hechuk. Hena etale the United States Supreme Court says the law should be interpreted as how the Lakota understood that treaty proceedings. So the precious people that we had in the 1970s and 1950s who knew their grandfathers or their fathers who were at the proceedings at Fort Laramie are all gone. So how are we going to understand what those people understood and what we're going to carry forward as people here who are carrying on that same fight? But we are fighting that thing with on one hand tied behind our back. A long time ago, when they had that meeting, and I asked the old man, I said, hey, how are we going to get money up? We're going to send a hat around. We're going to give you money that way. That's an yeah. I think it was like $3.20 in change, no bills, all change. I made a letter out and I bought some stamps and I put that letter out to all the tribal chairmen. Only one responded from Sisseton Wapaton. He said, I'll pay for those chiefs' bus over to Washington, D.C. and back out. Na Lakota ki ha ip chanshna ata tan la akitrompi. Na ata wapaha na ha ogale na ha huska na hena atia igulha na chanu point ashna na ku yuhab. Na toka ki ha Malfi King esha. Here tragoja hecha le chali la mos do akata do ha ashna toksha ilago yung ta tako ablising to my said. Wo cheke ki letro ka hedo hese. Wo mazas ka ki le. You ha wa cheke apelo hese. Doksha icharing te lo. Na hai vichakhe. Tanahit lahanta tohanta ke na vichakhle na heche tako ichumashiun ke na ayopte chama. Na waan ropna ke wa ninat otro kan ichakhle a night ropna. Na ook as een night home pe dan petuke. March 11th, 1973, inside Wounded Knee, the independent Oglala Nation was created. At its chiefs was Frank Foolscrow, Frank Kills Enemy, Jack Red Cloud, or James Red Cloud, I should say. There's Dave Flying Hawk. There's Zach Bearshield. And from the north, Tom Badcop. Hena shakbe iotako na hena oitrachan you have. Na wakpa oyan ke chekche. Ogalala etan. Makasa wakpa oyan ke we na is pahinsin te wakpa oyan ke. Heni yo la wichasi tanche yin kampi. Cha hena cha ate wichagalu itan ha ominichi iotakam. 3 members leading from each of the districts on Pine Ridge came together to form what is called the Lakota Treaty Council. And that started this whole work based on language and prayer. That's what it was all about. And the headsman, there's only one left this morning, to this day. And all of them are gone. And I tell you, he's still sitting in here. And that's James Red Willow. James Red Willow was one of the headsmen that was chosen to bring from Wambali area, Ignote. Wambali hokpita ha he itachan you have he as train. Na henan la han echan la ishna la niu. Na toki na kus he ha mis na pe stecha la making ta kya. Ja he ke pas o is ka washi chunk ke Larry Redshirt in a Louis Badwood in na pia in a scampy. O a she ha na pia lilo kan ke wichoni ke na ka. Ja he washi ke na ta ma hispa. As wagili chasna, if they chasna, it has trying up one at okay. Makashi Nakia. Oh, as Takia Poena Nashi, as Chante Oganaka Pecha. The Hena Nashi of Del Petu Gasna. Or Nakizi Hecha. Oko, Yuga Egalep Oganashna. Chukaki Galekia upon Hecha. The Hena Chasa K. Hense Hena, which have Honiha. Nahachi. O tok shaan peto aji hena lena taku ki ya yo inach masin ki ka ukte. Na taku oni la ste nach on ki le honk papa ke na ha. Hoch woro ati ke e na. Eniu he la wana iglu ita na chi wichasa oi thacha. You hapo hena ate iglu ita na ona omunite ka ta ke apsa. Heli la yomak ki me kishne. Kinta komunika hechu to ke. If they would have Tiwa chat on Kupi, let's Tiwa Otum Kiwagalakap. The mission on Tiwa Hewatawa Hekakashna, Lehan Washitia, Wakapamani Lake up, Niswatosna, tri communities up. For I said the series has so it can say Hoki Hehana Tunkashi Chawa. Was it Tokanazi Wahoki's a Nupa each 2 lands. Now he chiefs Ichinubaki Hechatans Akichita, Akichita Chikalaya, little soldier, and Nanaku Hetam. Nahanaku is Samiak and is Matronari. He washicha US capital ghost bear. Nai station I Itrachan Chikalaya was little commander. And not Ashna Zaptanki, Hena Ashna Hena Oitracha you have. Nahanaki, now Hitaku Henacha Nanski le walk Palmy Lake on Hena Helian copy. No Ashna Tradition Takomanica El Honta Mama Crash or Hash and Diglasna, Yopriamakuab. Lelio Takin Anakoptan, Nenataku Trocata Kunanich easy to Loya, hence a Makuab. Taku Kalilota Iwaho, my own national Takoni institution later, Sansna, Mitchix. Chancellor Hinataku Ashna, Eata. Hekia Ashna, Unkuma Ash. Takon Yaki here. Taka beetje die lastig, na tako ki wat gaan. Ze gaan ze de hand genachtje ianke. Hoe ze tios bij een kitrapike nachtje is aan laten ianke. Wat gaan ze ook kitrapike als een nachtje chongelo niet hampe. Na is als na tako was dit let dat zijn ektasna ooit ja basna. Trapskat op na dan ja tako ja hoe je kan op zo'n na basna we chongelo niet aan basna we chongelas. We chongelas zo basna. En dan tako ke henan chin tako ele tiwa he ka we chong te na yoptia tios pa ke we chong te hena etana ke ata kilas again after helical ha ian kapi ho a chin tako ke he chi la kote api ke de troka he kia na woche ke on troka he kia na hena etasna tako ke han asno ota yo tako yamana basn Hecha wožup, na rate ke vojči jak, vojču, na vojčaki čuk, tak evo na hena vožupi. Kanana tako kilinta kanana tako la kensan ilagan na blaza chashna. Ich ashna oha opkapi. Nana tako kinha heto cha unka uktonya ke. Chinlen ogalala oyanke ki yani ukchemna zapta isam nupa oyanke gagapi. 52 communities on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, making up 9 districts on that Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. But the heart and soul of it is those 52 communities. That's where the energy of the treaty lies. And we have to start thinking about it in that way. It does not belong in Eagle Butte, or it does not belong in Pine Ridge. It doesn't belong in Mission. It belongs in the little tiny communities that we have on our reservation still hanging on. And so we got to celebrate that. And if you come from those communities, don't be afraid to brag them up, because you come from great, great people. So I'm going to say that much today, and I know I'm cutting into your food program, but this is how, what do you say? Ocheti shakoi in. Hey, Charlie, la pila maya pela hokai.
I have a quick announcement. Milo brought up a very important thing that we need to take into consideration. And that is, he mentioned all of these reports or documents that were done in the past. We don't have access to any of that. So if you could look into your archives and have any of these reports or documents, historical documents, if you could share it with us, with my office or Justin's office, we can include that in our work so that we can see what was done in the past. Because at my office, I have never seen any of those reports. So just something to think about. And here's another thing. A lot of our treaty elders that have passed on left lots of papers. If you could allow us to look at those, the families, give us permission to look at those are things that we could possibly use in the future for reference. Thank you.
What's your phone number or email? You have it somewhere?
I'll get it to you. What time is it? He has a great big group email that goes out to almost everybody. You're not on her.
1219. I wanted to Kokertia Wopila at Kankai Chicha Pitona Lia Himna the Kamp in Manok on the Kap Ila Takuko Otal Uspema Kiableon Petuki. Great respect for my relatives that come and share Taku Washte Chante Hetchela Etan Kichu Pikilana. I got some Chiwichak, some of my brothers that are in here, and my cousins, brother-in-law, Kola, nephews, Kunshka Trunzan, Mitita Kwetona, and Claud Two Elk. I remember you. Honey, what you I remember him. Ilataku ota makhoche wan lele akan eongalapi. Paha sapaki wakan keapicha. Ampetio hila wochiki unkakapi. Trying to defend my ate's name is Oyate Nawichak Chiji. And I got an uncle. A lot of you, he took me in as a son too. Dawson has no horse.
And a lot of us, we try to keep that, their teachings. And Mahasani and my son back there, this man you talk about, all over, I hear it. Chief Foodscrow. That's her grandpa. That's where she come from. Onaku, my like she ate Leonard Crodog, and she Albert. I remember, and we grew up together. There used to be like 20, maybe 80 of us used to live down the east of Allen. Before that, we were in Scotts Bluff, Nebraska. First time in our life we ever seen rats. Okay, we thought they were puppies. From that, I caught that word, This Zuzecha Kihana, Chejiki Nupapcha, don't wogla kapshnea. Attack on Lila Wakancha, Waktama, manage Wakta money on ya. Wahia Kiana. Ena Wakam. Istongab. I said, we told me. Today, I just wanted to, remember and trying to hang on to what we got for our children. Lena, Joseka picked an acheche. Elena Wopke, Nishechel, which onki Lena, honey, Kakalana, Chila Hena. Dokiske week on Johanna Nachti Lilum Goyampi. There's no time to be one always. Wa unchala. Watching the kena, ona ekigna kapo. Unshiki chila money po. Have that compassion for each other. You want to be somebody, you are somebody. Except we chacha henicha. Nahechelata trokata kia. Yexia bechi. Troka we wang wachi. Lila waka. Nanachti wakamas. Lila hena onata. Ampete kilana. Oya kapi. Dagia trokcha. Dagia trokcha. Na the one let you najina. We chokan ki hena ungruni kya. Ya hechetushni. There's some way a witch hallow and be happy. Here we choke a kinachti unhappy. Kapa ki umankali happy. Enachti unhappy. Oh, Nari wa hetja. Gluha. Enachti ungluhappy. Yushkapi. Omblechi happy. O hetja ikpakitap. A poich happy. Oinikache. Nizeta we wangwachi. We still have our sacred ceremonies. We chocha shakoinki lena. If you really want to, you hang on to that. Glus umpo. Nanilak hota lena walaka boyakib. Try to raise my children up. Lena, Ogana. Still have the ceremonies in the family. Trying to share it with people to walk with. And the isha she pokata ki you how many na nipik to etchun kopi. I really lila pokata ki there's something I want, for Oglala people. And suit. Maybe one day. Maybe tomorrow, next day. We share everything. We share it with everybody. Watch him. Iapi unkit kapi na ku. Hecha hulaza ta makai na lecha. Lila tayanta ku wanako ota nako. Okik chapte. Iapi kile tokaka. Na he unkit kapi. Kakoja ki het kapi. Today, I see non-tribal people come into our reservation teaching our language. We got speakers. There's a group came out in Indiana etam. We're going to give all these, we're going to help you with your language. You're going to revitalize the language. Schools have to pay $14,000 to use that dictionary that comes from us. We got people that are educated. Same way. Now Dickie Ashna Wogalakin, I listened to, my grandson got me into YouTube. When I want to learn something I didn't know about, I put it on there. Her grandson came up to me. Papa, you're not real, eh? You're not real. I said, what do you mean, Chakoza? You're not real because you're not on YouTube, eh? So Lily Bluksa, I better get at something. It's good though. I learned so much from that. It's good to share. The same way, Uglalaki, we got to stand strong. Our language has got to be taught by Uglala people, Lakota, even Sichangana, our relatives. Teach your own. You don't know what's bringing in. We got to take our ceremonies back. Lakota ke we na etu kama na nichante na ri ich uya duewa tenikhilana akachte niambe. They have empowered you with that language, with a way of life, prayer, land. Take it in your hands to do things yourself. When there's people coming from other places of the country coming in and running our ceremonies. If you see today, they use these with those caps, tribal license. Little, they'll fit in your pocket too. ID happy. And then you are unkopi. You're a tribal member of Oglala Sioux tribe, Rosebud Sioux tribe, Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. So they say, Iteshna Henichak, yap. You're bona fide, yap. Ata. So for us to properly pick up the things we need to use in the treaty, sorry for using the, there's a name in here, one of my brothers has a Akil. We got to lean on that. We got to lean on that. This one, people think for us. I respect the ladies. Without them, we'll all starve to death. They prepare that food. They prepare that food. Ceremony. And Chaecha Uma Lila, Takuka Nawaka, and Pankaki Lila, Bleach Apophinkta. And then I was telling my children, you're so lucky you have your mother. You're so lucky you have your father. Some of us, we have to remember them in dreams. Some of us, we have to remember them when we go to the graveyard, we go talk to mom. These things we got to remember. It's a lonely place. I don't know why people want to put that on their heads. Because you belong to the people after a while. We're talking, and I remember, Keith, Chia Albert, Milo, to Yankana. That's the Wongala copy. Myself, I'm kind of chancho these days because I thought my heart kind of acts up once in a while, but I'm still trying to hang in there. I'm trying to leave it something good. So Trakozas could say, hey, Papa left something good for us. He didn't teach us how to do this yet. And I'm real happy, my Uska over there and some of the, my Kashis and the singing came over here and sing for us. Use these sacred sites because every year head to Waki hot home chata Wednesday and watch it give Atkankama. Yankaka Apcha. It's you. Use I had you Galib now watch it Kaka. Renewal Alpi. We go to you have to go through that Tiopa. Otroka kinapkapi, hinapkapi, win cave. Or it's your Hiankaka or Iankaka. Matro tipila, matro paha. Hena or Oyawa kanheta. Be there, step on there, say your prayers. Wash agets a kokateke, learn the stories. Talk away hit you yam what you can kakap. Learn why you go up there. And not you ha nako olon ikake. Every man has a song alpe hechita. Na hechil naku hechil learn those 7. Keep those alive. Keep them alive, Hannah. Some of you are gonna get mad by hearing this. But that's okay. I want us to hang on. And I can never condemn a woman because if it wasn't for that woman, we won't have that chanupa, right? Yeah. Lila bluksa. Lechi chahi piani pikton. You have a check yapo. Yani pikta. So those things. And I just want good things for you, and I'm glad, I get to listen to Diki Wogalakichan. I listen to him on the radio on that doorsteps, streaming takuhe. He's taught me won't spell unkopi. But I just wanted to say, depend on these treaties, depend on our tribal heritage. Remember your elders. Kankaka won't spell one. Wahonkize one. Egelepina. They say, just do this. You're going to live. Don't forget it. So pick up your If you don't know, ask somebody. Opake, wanzi wichakana, wanyi kakapo. Ask them about these ceremonies. Ask them about these sacred sites. Ask them about the Tiwahe or Kashpe. Lena. Madon Khalila Loyachim, and they probably want me to shut up. But my name is Nyonke Kutepi. Kills him, and I don't, I gotta say what I gotta say. But I got permission. I asked, some of my male relatives out there. My Hassani came in and she told me not to get carried away. And but it's just the way I am. I try to stay in the back, but I came up here. I'm gonna call my son up here, and I want him to sing a song, for the distinguished gentlemen that are here and the distinguished people. You oni Chiapi. I wanted to say that, honor each and every one of you and remember in prayer, and if you can, remember us in prayer also. Right now, I said I got a call in my Kanshi, one of my cousins, my brothers, Vietnam vet. He's in Denver, and they gave him 2 days to live. But I'm here, and I just wanted to stay strong and have that strength to speak for your people. Lena Oyatik, treaties, Lena, Grandpa Oliver, that man that put that wapa on me. He did a bad thing to me, but he watched it. Ila watosha kakis money. But I remember him. Hakosa, don't walk in front of your people. Don't hide behind them. Walk with your people. Wahink pekihena ogle wanuki he. You're gonna step on cactus. Jahena wexia. But Leompetike wopila tranke chicha pina, and I remember Russell today, and then the fight they had, Dennis. I was a little guy. The only thing I could do was sing, but we used to hide under cars when something happened. After we didn't know they could run over us. But my first sacred song I learned was the AIM song. I'm proud of that. Wherever I may be. So in respect to all of you, in respect to the Oglala tribe and the ones that Tonshka over there, the only name, Justin, I almost called you Boomer. Sorry about that. The ones that took the initiative to put this on, I really want to thank you. And I really wanted to enjoy this place too, but I drove back and forth to Allen every day. That's 160 miles, I think, from here. But I really had a enjoyable time. Lila, I think I know a whole bunch today. But I'm asking my son to do that and then sing that song, and then I just thank you. Wopila. Ichicha. Naekon nakapi heche. Wopila.
Hey yo yo hey yo yo hey hey yo 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 hey yo hey yo yo hey yo hey Kasela wakaka o se makela yo hai o che makaya kaya meta ko yo mawani yo hai me chate ta o se mi chi lo ay yo yo hey yo yo ay yo 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 ay o se ma ke la yo hai o che ma ka ya me ta ko ya yo ma wa ni lo hai me cha te ta o se me che lo
Oh ja, wo pila tranka iuha ichisia pina ampeter kilena trocata kia. Was agia ake ampeter ma unkina simpiktelo. Ahu, etcetera.
Next one will be Dwayne. You wanna, after we eat, or you wanna be?
Yeah, I can do it while you're eating.
Oh, okay. We're gonna pray with the food, and he's gonna talk while you guys are eating.
Mitakepi, we want somebody to pray over this food now. Got really serious issue that I'm gonna give you guys. So watch shake y'all.
Justin said to myself or out loud, so if y'all pray to yourself, then I'll pray to myself too. Yeah, I'll be chinkacha. Yeah, he. Uyok piata kia hecho wakio ya te wakao ya te chulota kilet ke unkayu tayo. Wa ayu plan kopie ni echa ta wakan ukichupi na mini na taku washtesh te wakio hotko wakio tuwe mini kaluza ha hena echa yaha wani ukumpi. Wazia ta khatranko ya te hinchala chanopa wakaya uyaka yupi ke wopila echa. O pila sha coin ki hena echa yate o ai o yena o ai hena echa uyo shakapi ho he o yate lecha makha kani ukumpi ho he o pila echa lo na thalo guluta pina uzani pi na thaha o kalya ke ukumpi he o pila keni chu ha pelo ho yo hi pa ta ke atraksha yate sintesa pela ho ta ampetu yo hi uyukcha Wichotcha chiwashteshton kik pazopi kiwash akapi ho he hetaha tiwahe uyawash akapi na yopta tioshpaye oshpaye uyawash akapi woyoni ha etaha kik pazo kichakapi na oyate washtena wash akon kichakapi unka he chan wopilon ke apelo Witoka gata zint kaloyate wamblioyate hihoyate Kawambli kola le milwa kilna jipi usha chewake na woyete kile ya luashte piki yopta wakantranka lena woche ke etke ayo hoechel Takuko washtechon kichupi na kio washtepi na uzanipi. O hechel trokata ke wichoin charche kila zata hiupi kienecha o aya washte yu hapikta hecha lo unshi wichalayo. O tunkashi la wakantranka. Ishtawa unshi lalo haki kamakata kenkayutayo. O aiptankopie o ableza wa woke wichozani. O he oyate techia kelumpi. Na oche ke chola umpi, na ununia umpi, na taku shicha yola bichi api na ikpazo na ochumpi ki ena echa chonte na sula na ri yu chon champo hochel kikta pikte na la kote hetkia ia pikta hecha lo woke wichakupo takozo techi ke wana ni umpi na otaku yepi onunia umpi sele cha woke wichakupo ho unchi ni echa woyete na pejuta washte shele chelia kichache hoechel oyate unipi na uzanipi na minikaluza unchi etaha makoche opuze na takwashteshte kichache yunka lena woyete kile yuwa kanyo hoechel oyate wichozani kichupi na zania umpik tahechalo ushia hoye welo na michichuo o mitakuye oyasi.
Okay, go eat.
Be careful if it's a little big. Yeah. Oh, good. Listen to every